Holly.
Hey Rita, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Where are you at?
I'm in South Africa.
Okay, you are in South Africa.
Yeah. So
That's
apologies
awesome.
if I start yawning in about 2 hours' time. It's close to
Yeah.
bedtime for me there.
Yeah, are you 6 hours ahead?
What time is it now with you guys?
It is 1 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so. I used to live in Austria and I had some friends that also lived in South Africa. And so I thought we all were like on the same time zone. And then I moved to Ireland and I remember it's like I think it was an hour off. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I I don't miss the time difference between family and whatnot when I lived in Europe versus the States.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that.
Yeah. What part of South Africa are you in?
I live about 200 kilometers from Joburg.
Okay.
So it's called the
Yeah.
Highveld. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, let's see where am I?
Nice. I would love to go to South Africa one day.
Oh, it's just amazing. But
Yeah.
but contact me. I'll let you know.
Yes, I
I'll
will.
help you. I'll help you.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends in Johannesburg that I used
Ah,
to be youth pastor, so I have a bunch of youth workers like down in that area as well that I know.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you been
Yeah.
coaching?
I started in 2011. Sorry. Actually, I started in 2009.
Yeah.
Did ACTP for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then I froze. I
Yeah.
froze, and I decided, well, I'm never going to get all the coaching hours.
Yeah.
Um, so I just coached very low key, very low key. Um, and then the twins hit school, crazy, crazy time.
Yeah.
Um, and then my health, I've got cystic fibrosis. I was, I was really
Oh,
very ill. I was put on the
yeah.
transplant list. I was fully
Oh,
dependent on
wow.
oxygen. And then I stopped coaching because I couldn't remember actually anymore. I couldn't
Yeah.
concentrate and see,
Yeah.
couldn't see the connections anymore. And I said, no, that's not who
Oh,
I am.
man.
I felt cannot expect people to pay for this haze of a person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I was gifted the Trikafta. I don't know if you guys
Hmm.
know about the Trikaftas in from America, and
No.
it's it's the tablet that they actually developed. So if you don't have the right gene code
Yeah.
for CF, it won't work. Fortunately, I've got two copies of the perfect gene, and
That's
Trikafta
awesome.
is so close to to a miracle. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
basically everything. I'm off the transplant list. I can breathe without oxygen. I can work.
Oh my gosh.
I'm back to being human. And I said to Cheryl, now's the time. We're going back to coaching full time.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine what that would be like to go from like normal functioning to then the oxygen being so low in your body that you're just not even able to do like the mental processes that you're used to doing as just a
Mm,
normal functioning person. That
mm.
must have been so discouraging.
It was scary, Holly. It was very scary.
Mm,
Um, but I have to say, I've got an amazing family. Yo,
yeah.
they are. We made plans how to go everywhere with my oxygen machine.
That's
I
awesome.
super tubed. I did deep sea fishing.
Oh
Um,
my
I
gosh.
participate in a three-legged races. So it was always this family planning of how to get.
Yeah.
We call it the baby, the little
Hmm.
black
Yeah.
box of oxygen. How to
Yeah.
get the baby to go with mommy. So, and I think with their humor and their commitment
Yeah.
to keep me involved, it gave me. a lot of strength and actually it pulled our guys together. I mean, we're a very close family.
That's amazing. That is so encouraging to hear. That's a great
Yeah,
story.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It is just the little box, like not, you aren't like on the big oxygen tanks that are like heavy to like carry around, or you have to put like on the little cart.
Thank goodness, not that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who delivers oxygen tanks, but that's so when I think of oxygen, I go to that immediately because he like goes out to the houses to people that need like 2 and 3 tanks a week and like takes the empty ones and like gives the ones that they need, like the full ones. And I just,
Mm,
yeah, can't imagine.
yeah.
But then he tells me about the people that like he takes them out to and they're smoking. They're just
Yay.
smoking. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
I know it stretches me as well. That stretches me immensely. Or the
yeah,
parents who smoke and your child's got cystic fibrosis. I'm like,
yeah.
what
Are you
is
thinking? Yeah,
that?
that's horrible. So horrible. I don't understand.
I
There we go. Hey,
Hi,
Christine. How are you doing?
I am so happy to be on this call.
Good. Um, so I'm Coach Holly, and I'll be teaching today and Thursday, and then I'm with y'all again in September. And then are you all still going in October, or is that another class that kicks in? I'm kind of don't have
Um,
my schedules down right now.
we are October 8th, 10th, 15th. Oh no, 8th and 10th. We have it, and then group mentoring on the 15th, and the 17th is final class and our final
Okay.
performance evaluation.
Okay. Yeah. So Lori's doing the class 8 or 9 and 10 or 8 and 9, something like that. Anyways, we're all hopping around. So I don't know if you all are friends with Cheryl on Facebook.
Yes,
Um, but yeah, her brother unexpectedly
yes.
passed away. So if you pray or meditate or whatever you do, I just ask you guys to really lift her and especially her mom up. I haven't talked to Cheryl like in the last 2 days, so I'm not really sure how her mom is doing right now, but um, yeah. So just be thinking of them and her sons and the nieces and nephews. Yeah. And then Lori and I flopped. I am actually getting married, eloping basically on the 29th, eloping with a small group of friends. And
Mm,
so I'm like in the midst of like some quick wedding plans. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina, but I will be moving up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, so outside Philadelphia, for a year while my fiance, well, then husband, is looking for a job down in South Carolina. We just can't have like 2 households at the same time. So we'll rent out my house and then that will help. So I'm going to get married and I'm going to load up a U-Haul truck, rent out my house, move up here. So there's just a lot of like transitioning and things going on right now. So that's my little crazy life. But I've been coaching for before the pandemic now. Um, and I do life coaching. I mainly work with women going through bigger life transitions in the sense of like job changing. And so, not like a career. I don't do like the career part of that. That like sometimes when you're changing a job or your kids are going into that next season of life, like you have to refigure out who am I. So when it comes to like life transitions where you're sitting there going, who am I now? That's where my sweet spot is with helping people. We always say that, we become the coach that we wished we would have had usually like in a certain season of life. And I was a youth pastor for 15 years, and I lived in Europe, and I worked with youth leaders in different countries. Um, and so I did that until my mid 30s. And then I moved back to the States, and had a lot of I had a breakdown, a mental breakdown. It was just too much, moving back to the States. And I had never been an adult in America. Like I went to college, right? But then I then lived with my folks, became a missionary. And so I worked with a nonprofit organization. So I had to raise all my own funding. And then I moved to Austria. So I got like my first real apartment, my first real everything, not only in another country, but in another language. So I had to learn German first, and
Wow.
then move to a small village, um, 2 hours outside Vienna, just north of Salzburg. And so like I mean, getting an apartment in another country is just its whole other experience. And then I moved to Ireland after many years in Austria. So then doing it all again in Ireland, totally different. And then moving back to the States, and just like, and I was single the whole time. And so just that, how do I cope as an adult in America, but yet I'm American, right? So people are like, well, you're American, you should know. But I haven't used a trash compactor or what do you call it? See, I can't even think of the name, a garbage disposal, since I was 18 years old. And I'm like in my 30s. I don't know what you put in a garbage disposal. You're supposed to compost, people. And where's like your glass recycling and your paper recycling and your plastic recycling? And it just, anyways, that's like the really basic end of it. So I had really great therapy. But when I got out of therapy, I was in that piece of like, okay, I'm healthy, but who is Holly now? Like, this is what I did then and there, but that's not what I'm meant to be doing now that I'm back in the States. And so refiguring out like, what are my passions? They were the same, right? But then how do they translate into working in the United States? And so for me, I love God and I love people. And so it's like, well, I still want to help people and serve people and support them. So becoming a coach was such a great thing for me, because I wished I would have had a coach in those moments of trying to figure out what do my passions look like now in the United States, helping people, but in a totally like different space. So that's why I talk about like that sweet spot of helping people kind of refigure out who they are in the next season of life, and translating those kinds of things. So I just get so encouraged and fired up, coaching women. And you guys know, like, it's such a blessing to be a part of other people's stories. It's such an honor. Like you think about all the other jobs that we've had in our lives, or careers or short-term jobs where you're not greatly impacting someone's life, like help them buy a dress at the store. That's not greatly impacting their life. But in coaching, we get to really impact people's lives. So I'm in my late 40s now, and I am getting married for the first time. And funny enough, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence today. And as I was reviewing the stuff and looking back at my own assessment that we'll look at, I was going, oh man, I'm sure I'll make you take this assessment next year at this time, because I'm sure so much of it is going to change. Because I know I'm like set in my ways in a lot of areas, as you would be, right? So I know I have a lot of growing to do in the next year. So looking at emotional intelligence before today's class was really good. But I want to get to know you guys a little bit. I know you all know each other probably pretty well, and coaching each other left and right. But Christine, where do you live?
I live in Saskatchewan, Canada,
Okay, great.
in a little town of 500 people.
Oh, wow. And is this your full-time career, part-time, just getting into it?
Well, I was certified many years ago, and then I got sick,
Mhm.
so I didn't I wasn't able to start my business. I have a full-time job, which I think will aid me in this. I build websites and do marketing and logos and all that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
for our local community futures. And I will end up having my coaching take over my current position, and I will transition to just coaching.
Oh, that's great. Are you married? Do you have any children, fur babies?
Oh, well, I'm
These are all
normally
very
not late
important
for these.
things.
I'm normally not late for these calls, actually, but um, my sweat is dissipating slightly because we are leaving at 1:30 today to go on vacation right after this.
Oh, okay.
And I had to rush to get my dogs to the kennel. And I was
Oh,
literally
yeah.
jogging in 30-degree weather back here for this call
Oh
from
no.
getting my dogs to the kennel. And I've got brownies in the oven, and I feel massive amounts of panic and stress today.
Oh no.
So anything else you need to know? Oh, I'm married. I have a wonderful
Mhm.
husband. We've been together for 24 years. I
Oh,
have
that's
a
awesome.
phenomenal son who is currently in Japan.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
he's in the military, so he
Yeah.
he just spent 2 months in Hawaii for RIMPAC, and then they
Hmm.
sailed to Japan through a typhoon, which Mama was a little worried
Oh,
about, but he says there's no way that it will possibly sink. Anyways, and then he won't be back
good
till
for him.
December because he's going all over Asia to 10 or so different countries. And yeah,
That's awesome. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have two Morkies. So they're a cross
Oh,
between a Maltese and a Yorkie.
yeah. My Morkie recently died.
Oh, so you know
Oh,
Marquise. So my male is five
yeah,
pounds and he looks
yeah,
much more Yorkie than Maltese. And my
yeah.
female, we call her our little house hippo. And she is 6.5 pounds because we have
Hmm.
to keep her on a very strict food schedule or she will bulk out.
Oh,
So yes, and so they're very cute. They have full wardrobes, and she always has the
oh,
bow in her
yes.
hair, you know, and
Hmm.
he has the little shirt that says, you know, my mama loves me or something like that. And or, you know,
Yeah,
girls keep away, I'm taken, that type of stuff.
I love
Um,
it.
the paws off, I'm taken. He has a shirt that
Yeah.
says that. And so yeah, so there,
Oh,
and then I have a cat.
okay. Yeah. My little girl was 13. Um, and she like slowly over the years had a lot of different things. But she weighed 8 pounds. So she was a little bigger. Her name was Fergie, the Duchess of Yorkie, because I do have a little obsession with the monarchy. And then right before she passed, this was a blessing. I ended up adopting a dog who needed a home, and he's a
Oh,
Yorkie poo. And of course, I renamed him, and his name is Wellington, the Duke of Windsor. So
shocker.
Wellington, or yeah, he goes by Welly, and he's 7 pounds, and he is just a bundle of energy and joy. So he really was a huge blessing when Fergie left, because I got Fergie when I came back to the States and was at my lowest point. She literally
Mm,
was a support dog. So the things that we went through, but it was like closing of a chapter of my life, and Wellington's the new, but it's amazing. I mean, fur babies are, they do so much. Yeah.
yeah, we did not want dogs,
And
but
here you are with two.
well, and you know, here we ended up with a dog. Our female had luxating patella in both of her back legs, so we had to take her for two surgeries, totaling $10,000. Thank goodness we
Hmm.
have insurance because they paid
Yes.
8,000 for us. And then we had to take her an hour's drive there and back um, every week for laser therapy and water
Yeah.
walking. And then we had to do stretches every single day with her. And it was an absolute disaster. And thank goodness I
Mm.
work from home and have an incredibly flexible schedule.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been way worse. And she shakes when she has to go to the vet and she
Oh,
hates it tremendously.
sweet girl. How old is she?
Two.
Oh, bless. Oh my
That started when she was 1. She had a horrible case of it. So
Wow.
yeah, that was brilliant.
Mm.
Yay.
Well, Rita, we got to talk a lot before. But do you have, is this full time? Do you have a full time? What's going on with you work-wise?
So I started off as a volunteer for the South African CF Association, taking
Mhm.
over the role for patient support manager and advocacy. And I have to say, girls, I'm so proud of myself because I really picked it up from being nowhere with no support for our patients out there. Within a year, we've managed that we are kind of like 80% in contact with all patients in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the WhatsApp groups are very, very busy. One thing that I do enjoy is people will WhatsApp me and say, Rita, I don't know what to do. What's up? And that was important for me, for patients not to feel alienated anymore.
Mhm.
I work for the advocacy group, VSU, that's global as well. Um, and then I'm part of the rare disease team also.
Mhm.
And then we basically explored, and I said to the CF guys, like, listen, this is what I'm doing. This is the hours I'm clocking. So they started at the end of this month. I will receive my first retainer, which I'm very thankful for. Um,
Yay.
thank you. That's my husband always producing the tea for me in the midnight hours. And I work for him as well. He's got a depot. He's in the farming industry. Um, so he serves farmers. So somebody needs to do the paperwork, and I'm the little slave in the office for him to do that. And then yes, then we are transitioning slowly, getting other people involved so that we can pay their salaries and so that I can
Mhm.
pay. So yeah, that's,
Wow.
that's it.
That's really cool. So you're married. Do you have any children, fur babies?
I've got twins. We made
Hmm.
world history. I was the first lady globally that fell pregnant naturally with twins with cystic fibrosis and survived. So I'm very
Oh,
proud of the
wow.
three of us. Um, it was a hectic pregnancy. I cried for
Wow.
both of my pregnancies with stress and everything. Most of the pregnancy I was in hospital. I was on
Mm.
bed rest from 27 weeks, and they said, "No, you really
Yeah.
don't know how to do this." So I was in hospital. But they arrived only at 36 weeks, beautifully strong, amazingly. So that was such a blessing. Um, then I on the farm we've got quite a couple of animals. I love my
Hmm.
chickens. They teach me a lot.
That's awesome.
Uh, I get so excited when you open the chicken coop in the morning and they try to actually fly. And then I think, oh, shame, babies.
Bless.
And they get, and then they're overexcited for about 30 seconds and then they settle down. And they start scratching in the dust. And it always reminds me that just be aware of not getting so involved in the here and the now and the dust of the
Mhm.
day that we forget to look up, and that we forget to just take a time for perspective. I've got
Mhm.
3 dogs. The fourth
Mhm.
one is my father-in-law. He's very ill.
Mhm.
He fell a week and a couple of days ago. So, but it looks as if he's going to survive that. The doctor gave us very good positive feedback today. So
Oh,
I've got
good.
a little foster dog. Not happy with that because grand my father-in-law spoiled and rotten, and I'm not going to let him sleep in my bed. Um, and then I've got 3 cats, 2 very vocal baby cats. Well, babies, 5
Yeah.
and 3 year old. And then we've got my granny cat. She's 17 years old. She will probably join us later. Um, Yeah, and that is the summary of who I am.
How old are your girls? Your twins?
Oh, it's a boy and a girl. They are
Oh, boy
17.
and girl.
Yeah. And next time this year, we start the final school exam. And I think that was also one of the reasons why I decided to start picking up the coaching, because it's time that I redefine my role as a person, you know.
Yeah,
I don't have to be mom full time anymore. They got their
yeah,
wings. They're really awesome individuals.
great. Well, thank you for sharing, you guys. I like to know, oh, I like to know what's going on. But I love to know like the careers, because I think that really impacts how we coach in great ways. And then also um, like if you're in HR, like you're going to struggle a lot more with asking a lot of questions when you're doing a coaching session, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do in HR. So it's also good to know, because then it's just like, you know, certain careers, then it's just kind of different obstacles to overcome or habits to break when you go into coaching. And we all have them. We all have them. So it's just over the years of teaching as well, like I've kind of learned, you know, what some of those things are for certain, in a generic way, for some certain careers and whatnot. Yeah. So I want to be able to help you guys the best that I can. I'm pretty much an open book. So don't hesitate to ask me any questions that you might have. I don't know who coached last on Thursday. Um,
Christine. And
Christy
she was
coached.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'll have to go
Amazing.
back and listen. So that means that Rita, you are up to coach, and it sounds like Christy could use some
Oh,
deep breaths and coaching.
I was so hoping that we were coaching today because I knew it would be her turn and I'm dying.
Okay, well, let's get you undying and the brownies out of the oven. Do you have a
Okay, I
timer set
just
for
have
your
to get
brownies?
them out of the oven quick
Okay,
first. I'm
yeah, let's
sorry,
do that.
guys. Give me just
Let's
a
do that.
second.
Save the brownies.
I appreciate that, lady, so much.
Kill for some brownies. I don't know if she can hear me or not, but I'm actually in Pennsylvania at my boyfriend's fiance's right now. And my laptop's died, but I have an iPad. So I've been looking to like get rid of my iPad and just get like an old iMac or Mac Air book. So the laptop pretty much died. So I ordered a MacBook Air. At home, I have an iMac. So, you know, like we're just on any PC, any computer, you can have like tons of things opened and stacked. And it makes teaching like really great for sharing things. But the Mac Air didn't come yet. And so I'm on my iPad, and so you guys are just gonna have to bear with me today. Like I have everything open. It's just not quickly accessible like it is, you know, like on a regular computer. So there might be some delays, and hopefully the Mac Air comes before our class on Thursday, just because I really want to play with it too. Yeah, so I'm not in my regular setting.
I have made my peace with a little troll called Let's See If We Can Bosh Reader's Life in All Ways Possible on a Laptop. Nothing is talking to each other. Nothing is syncing. I've got 3 different calendars.
Yeah.
And it's been the second week that I even phoned a friend that's in IT. And he's like, how did you manage this? Please don't ask me that question. Fix it. And the one thing he tried to uninstall, he's like, oh gosh, where's a divorce contract? Some divorce contracts is simpler than getting this uninstalled. What? It's electronic. Not
Wow.
strong. So I get it, Holly.
Yeah. And I mean, we just use so much on all these things. And like, thankfully, we have all our little air drives, and so like can access everything. It's just, what are you accessing them on? As opposed to like the back of the days, we didn't know to save everything, or you couldn't, carry everything around with
Yeah.
you.
Do you remember when I was at university, we had the memory stick?
Oh yeah,
Golly, your
those were
whole
brand
life was
new.
on that memory stick.
Well, when I first started college, it was the floppy disk. So then it wasn't.
Why?
Oh yeah,
Honestly.
the floppy disk, and like I didn't even
Ah,
have a computer my first 2 years of college, so I was like the computer lab and the floppy disk, and then the memory stick was just ingenious. Like, love it. Yeah, your whole life is on it. And no printers. Like, no, I didn't know anybody
yeah,
who had a printer. No, we all had to go get it printed in the computer lab.
yeah,
Now it's like, how small is your printer?
yeah,
Mine's as big as a purse. Mine's this. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good. The brownies are safe.
They're frosted, the nuts are on, and they are sitting on the floor on a rack over my air conditioning vent.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh yeah, the dogs are at the kennel.
The dogs are at the kennel. My cat would never touch anything. And I thought, oh, I'm brilliant all of a sudden. I felt really great and accomplished with that idea. Because I have to put them in a lunch. Oh my Lord.
You've got this. You have got this. Rita's going to bring you to a place of just new enlightenment when it comes to leaving for vacation in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you guys know what you're doing. We've got our 30 minutes. Let's see. It is, well, basically 7:35 for you, Rita, right? Yeah. I like to look at things on the 5 and the zeros. It's a lot easier, especially when I'm coaching at all in life, like to look at the clock quickly and know where I'm at. So that's why I rounded up to 35. So yeah, so you can take a little bit till after 8 your time. Then we'll come back and look at that, take a quick break, and then we'll go into our emotional IQs, which is a lot, but it's a really, really cool lesson and thing to think about. So I'm going to leave you, lovely ladies, to it. And you guys have a great session. And I'll be back with you guys in a little bit.
Thanks.
Christine,
Hello.
it's awesome to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, wouldn't have missed this one for the world.
Awesome. So, with your permission, I would like to, well, first of all, I need to know if there's anything you need before we start.
Is there anything I need?
Mm.
Is that what you said?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just need 1 second actually.
Okay, could I invite you to do something? I want to experiment tonight on you. Could I?
Sure, experiment away.
Okay. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And we're going to take a couple of deep breaths together. Just think ourselves. And this next 30 minutes is all about you. You can use it as you see fit. This is a judgment-free space, confidential, safe. When you are ready to enter this space and to get into the driving seat, you let me know.
I'm there.
So what are you going to work on today?
I'm going to work on my water intake today.
Right. Why the giggle?
Oh gosh. Because there was just some things that I didn't consider last time when we discussed it that have arisen, and I need to problem solve this a little farther. I did what we said to do, and that part worked great. It's just the other aspects that I realized that I didn't notice until they arose. So I didn't really notice them in our first session about this issue.
Mhm.
And I got to problem solve this because it's a pretty big deal.
Okay. So first I want to commend you for coming back to this. Last time you said
Thank
to me,
you.
really important. So what do you need from today's session? What do you want to take out?
What do I want to take out of this? I just want to have the two scenarios that I hadn't considered. I want a plan of action for how to stay consistent with my water intake in those scenarios.
How are we going to measure this plan?
Well, by this.
Okay.
So this is a Hydrate Spark water bottle,
Mm-hmm.
and it measures how much I drink. It sends the measurement to my phone, and it lights up here at the bottom every time I need to drink.
Ah.
Now, alternately, if I don't have this with me, I can manually put, say if I drink tea, I don't drink it out of that.
Mm.
So I will manually put it in there, but really that's my success is determined by what's in this phone. I need it to read 80 ounces of water every day.
Okay. When we had a couple of ideas how to manage, did you celebrate in any way the small steps of success that you might have had?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I did. Well, I told my husband about our plan. And I have a book that I write in every morning and every night. Well, I think you probably know that already. I can't remember if I told you. So I made sure that I put it in there every morning and every night about my plan. And I celebrated myself that way. And I told my husband about it. And we made a plan of action of some things that I'm going to purchase for myself when we get back from our holidays because I want them and I deserve them and I have been consistent.
Okay. Well, you know what? I feel, yeah.
Right?
Let's dance a little bit. Yeah. Oh, my hip. Okay, not. Yeah. Right,
But no, like I am really quite happy with the progress I've made. I've been consistent in with my water intake. Well, I haven't. I've been consistent under under normal circumstances. But basically what happens is, so if I'm at my desk, I have a full pot of tea that I brew in the morning. And I drink that and then I drink the rest of my water and I'm good to go. What ended up happening, I had to go shopping and I was out the whole day. Big problem there. I
Mm-hmm.
got busy there, and I was in this store and this store, and I wasn't near. That's the other thing, I kept leaving my phone. So I have alarms set for every hour on my phone in case I'm not near this water bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those alarms don't work when I'm in Zoom meetings all day. I can't have alarms going off all day when I'm in Zoom meetings. So I didn't consider that. Um, and hopefully it gets better soon. Maybe I won't need to worry about this. Lately, I've been trying to get things off my plate to leave more room for this course. And I've done it. All the volunteer work that I used to do. Last night was my final push to hand off the manning of the website of this business and their Google business profile and all this stuff I do for them. We found someone else, and I sat in a 2-hour meeting with her last night that she recorded, and I showed her how to do everything, and it's now gone. But I find lately I have been having so many meetings like that and so much going on to finalize and get all this stuff off my plate. I'm working till 9 p.m., 10 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight, and then I'm up in the morning again. And so problem is I'm literally bringing cold food to my desk. I'm holding my urine, and I'm bringing thermoses of tea to my desk. But if I run out, then I run out and I don't have enough liquid. So, and I thought, well, I need to remember how we talked about it? I need to put myself first.
Yeah.
Problem is, I have back-to-back meetings. It's like I get out of one, I'm in another, out of one, I'm in another. And it's just consistent like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a challenge this last week. Not being able to listen to my alarms has been a challenge. And I suppose not putting myself first when I am not at my home. It's like, oh, I just got to get this done. I need to get back home. I'm gone. I have to shop, but I have to be back for a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm rushed. And I find I guess that's what it is. When I'm rushed, I don't take time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like one track minded. Let's get this done. I've just got to get this done.
Mm-hmm. What's coming up for you? What you writing?
So if you see me writing, what am I writing? That I just thought right now that when I feel rushed is when I make excuses in my own mind for not putting myself first.
Oh.
I justify not putting myself first instead of problem solving how to not be so rushed.
I hear on the one hand, you're rushed. But on the other side, I hear I'm not putting myself first. I'm justified.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a combination of the two. I think one kind of feeds the other, and I just go back and forth in this scenario. One thing I did do was I changed so clients are able to just book in with me. And I changed my availability so they can no longer book in with me on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Tuesdays or Fridays or Wednesday or Friday, whatever days it was. 2 days a week, nobody can book with me anymore. I'd made that change yesterday. So I have just 2 days to focus on my work, my actual work, building this websites and otherwise, it's hard to do it in between 5 meetings.
Mm.
So I did that. So those 2 days, I'll get my water in easily.
Mm. Mm.
Right? Because there's more focus. But it's really the big issue is in between, there's no in between times. But what if I put a buffer in my calendar so that there's 15 minutes in between each meeting, or even 10 minutes? I can go pee, I can fill up my water. Why have I never done that? Huh.
I hear habitual patterns.
Pardon?
I hear habitual patterns, habits, patterns that you are finding difficult to break.
Habits. What habits are you seeing, or like what is coming up for you when you hear me? Because I'm not really grasping it.
The habit of being rushed, the habit of putting the task in front of yourself.
Mm. Mm. Hmm. I think one of those is correct. I think the habit of putting other people, other things, everything else in front of myself, I think you're correct. That's definitely a habit. I think being consistently rushed is not a habit. I think it is a circumstantial situation right now because I am getting ready to go away. So I'm more rushed because I'm getting all of these things out of my way to leave more room for coaching. So there's things that I normally wouldn't deal with that I'm dealing with right now. But I'm also pushing my clients a little bit harder than I normally would. So I normally don't have back to back to back meetings, but they all know that I'm leaving. Oh, well, I need these logos done and I need to get their brand kit done. And oh, I need to pass this website off to them and all this stuff. And I'm saying, well, you know what? I'm going to be leaving. So if you want it done, you're going to have to make time and to get it done. And so now they're all booking with me when they normally wouldn't book this much. So maybe that's probably why I've never considered before having to have a buffer in between meetings, because I'm normally never this busy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong with putting the buffer, regardless of how busy I am, to make sure I'm not in this position again in the future, because I don't want to keep this up. But I do have the habit of putting everything and everyone else before me. But I didn't this morning. Interestingly enough, so this morning I looked like death warmed over. My hair was a mess and I had no makeup on and I was just frantically rushing to get all this stuff done. And I was supposed to go take my dogs and I had 10 minutes till I had to leave. And I went, yeah, you're going to go in the bathroom and you're going to throw some makeup on and you're just not going to let yourself feel badly about yourself. Because you know what? All this other stuff can wait. It's not going anywhere. So you get to it. So, and then I was literally in the bathroom saying to myself, look at you putting yourself first. Good job, Christine.
I'm not going to
So,
dance again. Yes.
right. So I'm trying. And I think that's really originating from our last meeting, where I was just sitting there crying and I was really recognizing that, oh my gosh, I I put everything above me,
Mm,
and it's a big problem.
mm,
And I'm worthy of all of these things that I need and that I want. And so if I look here, I'm rushed. So to problem solve how to not be so rushed, I will change my Calendly. And I will get that done. I still have the issue of when I'm going somewhere. Okay, what's the issue with that when I'm going somewhere? This bottle is too big to fit where bottles go.
mm.
So it sits far away from me in my car. So really what I need to do is take my olden day bottle that doesn't link to this, that actually fits in my car. It's still 32 ounces. And use that when I'm driving and manually put it in my phone. Because if it's there, I do drink a lot.
Okay.
I just don't because I'm relying too much on this particular bottle.
Mm,
So I can rely on this bottle. Well, actually, I also have another bottle like this.
mm.
It's smaller and it will fit in my car too. But I don't want to use it in there. I don't like to use it because these bottles are so expensive. It's like this bottle cost me $150. I'm scared I'll lose it somewhere and I don't want to. So I'm going to put my pink bottle into our truck. That's going to be the bottle I use when I go somewhere.
Okay. You used a very interesting word for me, worthy.
You know, that's something I struggled with my whole life. Struggled with that in my childhood. Then, as an adult, I was part of the Mormon church. And in the Mormon church, it's all about worthiness. You have worthiness interviews to be able to get into the temple, and you have to do what they say to do, and you have to live a certain way, and dress a certain way, and talk a certain way. And it was crazy. And I remember one time I was sitting on the top of a mountain, the place we're going to today. Um, and I was up there and I just started crying out of the blue. And I pulled out my phone and I started just writing in my notes of my phone that I am worthy. From the day I was born till today, my worth has never been able to be increased or decreased based on anything I've said, done, felt. I'm just worthy. I know that intellectually, but I struggle with emotionally, I think, those two things matching. So I'll say it to myself and I know it, but I struggle with my behavior reflecting what I know in my head. And that behavior means I don't drink enough
Mm-hmm.
or, eating. I'm really great with eating and stuff like that. Like I eat really healthy, and it's just drinking that I struggle with. But it's about me not emotionally grasping my level of worth and not acting in a manner that reflects it. Mm-hmm.
You got very nervous. in the beginning of this conversation about worth. Tell me more.
About, sorry, I missed part of that. I got what?
You got very nervous when you started talking about religion and your worth. I noticed you got very nervous. Tell me more.
I think that it goes way back. And I think I'm really going to have to sit with that because I didn't notice really until now how much that probably affects me. You see, when I was a little girl, we were in the Mormon church. And there was a lot regarding worth going on. And then there was my father, who was not Mormon and who was not religious, and he was a pretty horrible individual to deal with and very abusive. And I didn't feel worth based on that. So it was a double whammy. And then I lived with that for years and years. I mean, I didn't have worth where my father was concerned simply because I was female. There was a lot of reasons why I was deemed unworthy by other people. I was never deemed unworthy by a person who understood their own worth.
Mm.
I was only deemed unworthy by people who were struggling in that area themselves. Really.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, I don't know, if somebody doesn't have their own life together, like, I don't want to hear you telling me how to live mine. If you have something I can take from you, like if you've had some success in some area, I'm going to want to soak that up and learn from you. But if someone hasn't gained some success in any areas, like, don't don't talk to me about it. And I guess that's how I feel about those people, really, when I think about it. Who were they to tell me whether I was worthy or not? They didn't even have their own stuff figured out.
How can you look differently at your own worth?
I think that I don't know how I can look differently. What I do know is I think I need to be more mindful of my worth. Because I think I look at it quite good, right? In the moment. But yeah, I definitely need to be more mindful of my worth in general.
I've got a picture that I want to that's coming up for me. You are here in the moment with your worth, but you are not here with
No.
your worth. And this is where the habit lies. This is the moment. This is the habit.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think to myself, when I've struggled in that area before, like I've struggled in other areas like that where I thought I'm not making that connection. And I think what I did was I went and picked up a book dedicated to that particular, like a personal development self-help book. And I would read the whole book and sometimes 2 or 3 times before I finally got there. And maybe I need to do that. I mean, I have Audible. I have like 100 titles at least in my Audible. I can just grab one about self-worth. And I don't think I've done one about self-worth. And maybe that's why I'm struggling the way I am in certain areas with putting myself first.
Mm. What did
I'm
you
going away for
discover?
a week.
Ah, cool. Yes.
Now, it just occurred to me, I'm about to drive 12 hours to the destination, and then I'm going to spend an entire week without any responsibilities beside a lake. And on my kayak, fishing away, not talking to anyone. I can literally buy myself a book today on Audible and just sit there and listen to it while I fish. All I have to do is download it onto my phone.
Okay. So what did you discover today about yourself?
Um, I discovered today that I don't know how to verbalize it, that there are certain scenarios in my life that are clues to where these types of gaps are. And I need to pay closer attention. So instead of just sitting there saying, well, I'm not drinking my water. Yeah, I'm still not drinking my water. Oh, yeah, I've got a problem solved, not drinking my water. I need to sit there and say, okay, this behavior happening, the habit of this behavior happening over and over and over, that's a signpost that's saying you need to pay attention to something. And I need to be more in tune to that.
What did you discover about your water intake today?
About my worth?
Water intake.
Oh, my water intake. That it's suffering due to the signposts I'm not seeing and the connection that I haven't been grasping to my worth in a deeply enough. So it's not just a water problem. It's not just oh, I'm not drinking enough water, or I'm just too rushed, or it's really not that. It's deeper than that. And it's important for me to make those connections and problem solve that and address it, acknowledge it, and work on that, not just the action of drinking water.
Mm. How much confidence do you have that you will follow through on this new insight?
Siri, how will I follow through?
Yeah, with this new insight. How much confidence do you have?
Oh, I have great confidence that I'll follow through. It excites me. Like whenever I have new realizations about myself and the opportunity then to be able to better myself as an individual and grow, it's really very exciting to me, and something that excitement carries me through to action, I find. So yeah, today on the way down, I won't do anything till I get in my truck, and message my kennel lady because I forgot to put the directions in the bag. So I have to message her with those. Once I do that, I will grab my book. I don't have to change my Calendly yet because no one is here yet. How do I say it? No one can book with me while I'm on vacation. But I do have this wonderful little, so I don't forget, that sits here. And I'll change my Calendly actually when I'm gone because we're bringing our Starlink camping so that I'm able to have internet to continue these classes. And I'll change that when I'm out there. And I got my sheet here that I will take a photo of so I can't lose it
Okay.
because I'm in a bit of a rush today and you just never know how that's going to go. So I now have a photo of my plan of action
Oh,
and I will do that this week.
okay. So let's summarize. Let's review. Would you like to do it, or would you like me to do it?
You go ahead.
So you started off with a very open plan of action, how to increase the water intake, especially when you're not at your desk or when you're in Zoom meetings and the alarm clock can't.
Mm-hmm.
What we've discovered is that self-worth is actually the barrier for you at the moment. We could make the plan, but that will be difficult if we don't get the mind and the heart connected. So you're on the journey to connect the heart by reading the book, spending some great time with yourself this holiday, and taking that victory in, enjoying the moment. I want to remind you, and to see what shifts for you is my invite. When you get the basic acknowledgement of your own self worth. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty darn accurate to me.
Okay. How do you feel about today's session?
I feel like I desperately needed it. I feel like it's given me what I need. And I just feel so much more grounded and relaxed than when I started. I just felt like a mess. And yeah, it's just what I needed. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything you feel we can potentially, or I need to improve on for our next session?
No, I think it was lovely. And I think that you listened to me and you were here with me the whole way. And I can tell because you summarized it so beautifully. So thank you.
Can I do a happy dance first?
Yeah.
Join me. Join me. Come on, Christine.
How about I do happy
Happy
hands?
dance. Come on. Where's the commitment?
I'm chicken, okay?
You and
We'll
me.
work our way up to that.
Brilliant. We'll work our way up. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I love the happy dance. Well, Rita, how are you feeling after your coaching session?
Um, a bit worried.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
the worry?
I don't know. I difficult today to express myself.
Hmm.
English is my second language.
Yeah.
So just, I battled to say what I saw
Mhm.
to assist her. But yeah, and I think sometimes for me, when a client cries, then I know, I've got it. She was so
Yeah.
in control this whole session. And I thought, have I got it? Yeah. So.
Probably because the last 2 times she coached me, I bawled like an infant.
Oh,
It was
okay. Well, then
It was
that's fair. That's
ridiculous.
fair. That's hard to live up to. Yeah, that's fair. Well, it did not come across, Rita, that you were struggling with your words, but I 100% understand what you're talking about when your brain is not firing in that other language as well as you want it to, and you kind of feel stuck in another one or in between the two. But it didn't come across that way to me at all, and obviously I don't think it came away that way to Christine, so you don't need to worry about that.
No.
Trust. I think that's just really like trusting ourselves and trusting the coaching um process, right? Like even when we struggle to get questions out sometimes, I find like those days where I'm like struggling to get the question out and I like barely get it out, that the client's like running down the next path. Like Christine was doing a lot today, was she was having her own awarenesses, and then she was facilitating her own growth, right? And then she'd have another awareness and then she's facilitating more growth, and it's like and that was coming from just the few simple questions that you were able to ask in the summary, not the summary at the end, that was great, but like in the middle when you said like, this is what I'm hearing, you did that twice for her, and both those times it was just like that burst of encouragement, and then she awareness, ran with it, awareness, ran with it. So sometimes when we don't get to ask as many questions maybe as well as we're used to, we think we're not succeeding, but that's not a good tell of whether it was successful or not. It's really, is that client having awarenesses, and is that client running with it, and are you seeing growth in them just as they're even talking about their action plans, and the growth of accepting the awarenesses that they're having. And that's what, Christine, just like was beautifully happening for you today. Like the minute you got on the worth side of things, it just turned into like a whole different coaching session, which I just think is always so beautiful when someone shows up and they want to talk about water intake, and we end with these deep moments of be gracious to yourself and you are worth it. And when you said my worth cannot be increased or decreased, so it's coaching, so amazing, so amazing. So besides like the language in your brain, where did you feel really strong in the session with Christine?
So I felt, because I know Christine,
Yeah.
I know she deep values and convictions. So I knew instinctively when she came in with water intake, not about the water intake, because I know her. So I think the worth was very special and to me to uncover that
Yeah.
with her, and to explore that.
Yeah.
maybe what I could have done is ask better questions around, but what does that look like? You-
Mm.
what does work,
Yeah.
self-work look like to you?
Mm.
Question
Mhm.
coming up for me. Question for you,
Yeah.
Christine. While you're on the line, uh, what does that look like? I think it's just like, you know, Laurie actually invited us and said, come and experiment and ask what it felt
Mhm.
like. And Christine, I just want to know, what did it felt like when I said, let's connect? And while you were doing deep breathing, I kind of started setting the tone for the session. Holly, what did you think about
Oh, I have that start at the beginning at the top. I thought it was beautiful. And I thought, what was so beautiful about it, like what caught me was the words that you used of when you're ready to get in the driver's seat, let me know, and how powerful that
Hmm.
image is of giving the client, hey, I'm here to serve you, I'm here to walk alongside you, and to help you facilitate your own growth. And so when you're ready to get in the driver's seat, let me know. Like, I'm already in the passenger seat, but just let me know when I need to like buckle up and we're going down the road. So that visual of getting in the driver's seat and them letting you know, that's where I think the huge impact was in that moment. Yeah,
it?
it
Can
was
I add
wonderful.
something?
Oh, please.
For me, really the words, driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already getting in a place where I was so much more relaxed after feeling frantic this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting more relaxed, and that's great. But then she mentions the word driver's seat, and all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden I feel empowered.
It's a great word.
In that very moment, it's like, okay, I feel empowered. I'm the one right now who's steering
Yeah,
this, and this is awesome. So that's what came up for me, was the feeling of empowerment at that moment.
that's a really good word. Yeah.
And last time I left her hanging, I cried. Like completely. Like an idiot. Um, so this time I thought to myself, maybe I should experiment with the summary of the session and ask the client, would you like me to
Mhm.
summarize or do you want to do this for yourself? Um,
Mhm.
opinion, please?
Well, according to I thought it was great. If you're doing a recording for the ICF, they're going to want you to summarize.
Okay.
So what you do in your private practice, and each client is different as well. Um, and I think you might have those clients that really works well with. But when you go to do your recordings, I'm so sorry, for the ICF, for Cheryl to review, you just make sure you do the summary.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
liked the summary because I
Mm-hmm.
thought to myself, like, I can always summarize, but when I have you summarizing, I may be able to take something from that that I wouldn't
Right.
have been able to see or feel or understand if I was the one who
Mm-hmm.
had summarized. And also,
Yeah.
the way you summarized it was so incredibly accurate to how I felt and my experience in the session. It was really validating. I felt incredibly understood when
Mm-hmm.
you summarized it.
Yeah. So I think that you absolutely crushed core competency number 5 when it comes to just being present with her. Like, you could just, I felt drawn in. You were so drawn into her and following with her that it drew me in just that next step. Cause I was like, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like your presence made me even more present. Crazy weird. I know. So it was when um you went back to the word wait, where was it? Hold on, pull this up. It was when you went back to the word worthy, and all you really said to her was, I want to go back to a word you used earlier. You said, or you used worthy. And then you just sat there. You didn't ask a question. It was just that direct communication, like, of this is what you said. And you just left it out there for her to run with whichever way she needed to run. And I think it was so beautiful that you didn't ask a question, that you were so present, you could just put those words out there into the universe, like give them life, and then let her give the rest of the breath in life into those words. Because sometimes in those situations, when it comes to something so deep as someone's worth and how they feel about themselves, sometimes I get nervous that I'm going to ask a question that's assumptive. Right? Like you could assume then she feels this way about her worth, or she feels that way about her worth. And when you just put it out there in the universe, like, wow, like where she took that was just incredible. Like goosebumps. I very rarely, like when I'm taking notes on a session, do I write down clients' words. I'm obviously listening to all, whoever the coach is. And Christine, I like wrote down your words. Got a different, I always have to write in different colors. So I grabbed a blue pen really quick and I like wrote those words down, Christine. So that your presence that you had established throughout the session, when you got to that moment of bringing up the word worthy and you were able to leave it, there was no nervousness. There was no, you didn't feel a need to fill any space, and Christine didn't feel a need to rush into that space and to answer it. And that was just because you had been setting that scene so beautifully with your presence, throughout the whole time. And that obviously, I think when you're present, these really go hand in hand, then you're just crushing it when it comes to actively listening, right? Like you can't like crush active listening and not be fully present. They just don't go hand in hand. And so, I mean, you were able, like 6.1, to use her words, right? Like the worthy habits, how she was rushed, you went back and were using those words, you were exploring them. And again, just 6.3, like really exploring her emotions, giving space for it. And then 6.4, when it talks about energy shifts, you picked up on that. You told her that she got nervous. You felt that she got nervous when she started to speak about religion and her worth. And then you asked a question around that. So you exposed the shift, drew her attention to that, and then allowed her to respond to that. And that just obviously also is like part of 6.5 when it talks about we explore their perceptions, their beliefs, their assumptions, right? Like that. So those last few of competency 6 were just all entwined so beautifully, especially in the end with the questions that were coming up and the things that you were able to grab onto that Christine was saying. I would say like just one like slight thing, because like you.
Hey. Oh, there you are.
So, did you all lost me? Sorry.
I lost
Yeah.
you for a second there.
Okay. I lost myself. I could hear it. No, I was saying you crushed it. So this is just like a really small little thing. Under competency 3, like when we're establishing the coaching agreement, I think it would have been really great to ask the question around what's this going to mean for you? As far as in, working through, because she was really clear about, she had been successful, and that was great that you guys were able to celebrate and she had been successful. But in that success, she came up with 2 scenarios that she just hadn't even thought of. And that's where she wanted to problem solve around. And she really walked herself through, like a very aware person does. We usually just walk ourselves through the coaching agreement. So even though it's assumed, I always just still think it's really powerful when we can to like pop that question in there of like, what's that going to mean for you? Or what's that going to feel like? Or how is that going to change your perspective? Just that extra layer of giving them ownership to this measurable outcome. I want to see where else I had hearts. To the dance. I loved when you just simply asked her like what was coming up for her. And that was a great time for her just to reiterate and to have the awareness of she's just not putting herself first. And I said the worthy, and when you brought up being nervous, and towards the end when you asked her, how can you look differently at your own worth? And then you had that mind picture of her connecting the two, right? And I just thought that was really powerful to bring that up and to share that with her, because it shows her you're totally tracking, you're listening, and then it allows her to like you were saying, Christine, about the summary, like it allows you to see the things she was noticing or heard that you didn't like cop onto. And so that it was that same thing with that word picture, right? You saying that to her then was that another like, whoa. And then we went into the whole like audible books, right? And all this time that you're going to have out on the water and how you can just come back that much better. Yeah. What questions do you have for me, Rita, as far as the feedback or anything that's come to mind for you as we've been talking?
No, I'm very, very, very thankful that I didn't freeze today. And that I made this cheat sheet. And I find it actually, I was very distracted and my daughter was ill.
Mm-hmm.
So, she called and I just said, I really want to go through this. So it was every time I start with something and
Yeah.
then I would be called away and then you come back and you need to pick up everything. So I revised the thing 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful because I did feel almost instinctively, it was like a couple of questions that I've always found with coaching just hits the sweet spot. Almost
Mm-hmm.
came alive on the page.
Yeah.
The question of what have you discovered today about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did the cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad it's only 2 pages, so it's right next to each other. I don't have to page frantically. And had this big thing summarize, takeaway,
Yeah.
feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, I do feel now hearing you guys the feedback. I do feel that I mean that well make good progress.
You did, yeah. And that's the other beauty of the cheat sheet, right? Is especially that you had to keep revising it and going back to it, is really you just end up memorizing it. Right. So as you're writing it and looking at it and you're saying it like comes alive, just by doing the cheat sheet, we think if I do it, I have it in front of me and it'll be really helpful. And it is. But then there's also the part that you did the cheat sheet. So now these things are like that much more cemented in your brain. So then they just flow off a lot easier and more natural. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that I focused on with the cheat sheet was, how does that sound for reader? How
Mm-hmm.
just connect with myself and give myself permission to be a little bit myself.
Yeah,
Because,
please.
I do celebrate. I do
Yeah.
do stupid things. And I think, and that's why I said tonight, gotta put myself out there, and I'm literally just gonna say, guys, this is who I am as a coach. And if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
please,
Yes.
please stop the course, exit, no ICF, and that's okay. But then I know, but I'm just asking myself a lot of questions about my
Yeah.
authentic voice. So,
No, I mean, I don't know you except for the last like hour and a half, but it felt very you, natural. It didn't feel forced. And that's what we don't want to force things. Yeah.
okay.
Let's take a break. Do 10 minutes. No, let's just do 13. Let's come back at quarter to the hour. That's just the easiest. And if you all did your assessment and you got your results back, you might want to pull those up. Otherwise, I have my assessment and we'll look at my assessment like on the screen after we kind of go through the chapter. It's a lot of information. We'll kind of go through kind of quickly and then we'll look at an assessment. Yeah, Christine?
What chapter are you speaking of? Because I did not see
This,
a chapter.
so chapter 5, and I noticed that this morning. And I reached out to Lori to see if she had the version to be able to upload it. Her and I don't have that access. It's just Cheryl and her assistant Jess. And so I made a note to send them a message later this week. So I realized
Okay.
it wasn't up there. So I'll share my screen with the chapter as we go through, and then I'll share the screen with my assessment. But yeah, I'm really sorry it wasn't up there, but I could not contact
That's
Cheryl
okay.
and ask her.
No, and one other thing,
Yeah.
I would like to skip the rest of this session today.
Yeah.
My apologies. I'm feeling panicked. I have so much to
Yeah.
do.
Go
I'm
do that.
able to come back and watch it when I'm up
Yes.
there on the mountain. So
Yeah.
I'll do that. I have not done my assessment yet because my life is chaos, but I
Right.
will do it on the mountain as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's a
Um,
perfect place to do it.
it is. So I'll get that done, and I hope it's okay if I just skip out on this
Yep.
last hour.
We understand.
Oh, thank you.
Go
Thank you. I
take a
just didn't
breath.
also I didn't want to skip out on the coaching because then it makes it hard to
Mm-hmm.
catch up on that later on, right?
Right. Yeah, it is. It
So,
is. It all
okay,
worked out. Well, I will
thank
see
you,
you
Rita.
Thursday. Have a safe trip. Rita,
Okay,
I'll
I
see you
will see
back
you
in a few minutes.
Thursday, and I'll be prepared to coach you Thursday, Rita. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye,
Okay,
Christine.
bye-bye.
realized I didn't really eat lunch today. I was like, I'm famished. Just scarf something down.
You're more than welcome to have a little bite in between. Really,
No.
go for it.
So crunchy. I'm eating crackers. Okay.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's not, not sipping on like yogurt, what are those kids, like the yogurt pop things? That would be easier, but
Yeah.
okay. Trying to, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. There you go.
Nope, not that one. You want this one? Can you see the chapter?
Yeah.
Yes! I get 5 gold stars. Okay.
There's a happy dance. I'm not going to stand
To
up.
happy dance. To happy dance. It's like when do you watch rugby?
Big fan.
Yeah, I know. That's what I love about Ireland, like teaching me the football and the rugby. But like when the Argentinians do their dance, they're called to, I forget what it is, but
Yeah.
do you remember the word? Yeah, I love when they like do that and get all hyped up and like before their matches.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to look at emotional intelligence. Did you do your assessment yet by chance?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And you got your results?
Not you. No.
Okay, but that's totally fine. I mean, this will just help you understand them a little bit better. But I'll tell you, it is really fun to get them back and to go over everything. So you're going to get results back. But what's really cool about this test and what Cheryl's been able to do with this course is she then gets a copy of your assessment, but it's made for coaches. And so it's on a, I don't know, deeper, broader, it's more in depth, I guess really is the right way to say it. It's more in depth. And so you, Christine, and Rita, you guys will set up a one-on-one appointment with Cheryl just to go over your emotional intelligence assessment. So that makes it like really, really special because then you can, write down your questions and things that you might be wondering when you look over your assessment. There are a lot of tests out there. This is just the one that Cheryl, chose to work with. But emotional intelligence is scientifically backed. They've, as an official tool, they've done the research. And just like we have our regular intelligence IQ level, then we have the EQ number. And I can't think of what the IQ numbers are off the top of my head. But of course, our actual IQ intelligence helps us as a coach in the sense of, grasping the material, having our cheat sheets to go through and logically, step by step, help our clients. But really, it's when we want to get into our emotional intelligence because that's where it's going to help us get the most out of our lives, right? So we want to do this for ourselves and improve upon ourselves. But then it's also going to help our clients in such a richer way because we're aware of our emotional intelligence and we're aware of things to look for and how to help our clients. So with the emotional intelligence, that's where, talks about like, how are you maintaining relationships? How do you cope with challenges? how do you process even just your own emotions or other people's emotions as things come to the surface, whether it's in, you know, a really deep personal, like your marriages, or with a friend or with a coworker. So knowing our emotional intelligence allows us to have the deeper insights then into our clients and help recognize, as I said already, like their strengths and where they can develop. So what you're going to find is there are the 5 skills. Sorry, I could not think of the word skills. There's 5 skills, but then under each skill, there are sub skills, right? So like think about an outline. You've got A on your outline, but then under A, you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's like that. So we've got like the 5 skills and then like the rest of the outline. What you'll find is that you're going to have some areas where you are higher, and then you're going to have other areas where you're lower, right? No duh. But, you know, when I first started studying emotional intelligence, I thought, well, I need to have like high levels everywhere. Well, we're human. We are evolving. We are working on ourselves. So you are going to have some lower areas, and those lower areas balance out the higher areas. And that's good, like, because we need to have balance, right? So when you first get your assessment and you see these different numbers, don't freak out about it. And you'll see it when we look at my assessment here in a little bit. So our 5 skills that we have here is the self-perception. So just understanding and expressing our own emotions. And this is so foundational, right? To just our own self-awareness, that we have to be able to like understand. We have to know that we're having these emotions so that we can think through how to manage them and how to express them. When it comes to emotions, one book I highly recommend is Brene Brown. And Brene Brown has done the studies on vulnerability. She has a TED Talk on vulnerability. And so she does all these scientific studies with like Harvard and other big name places that I can never remember, and just studies like human nature. And so she recently did one on emotions, and then she published a book, and it's, oh no, I'm going to forget the name of it. I'll have to look it up and remember to tell you guys on Thursday. But what she found in her research when it came to emotions is that the average person, okay, can only identify 5, or name would be the better word. They can only name 5 emotions. 5. That's shocking. Like, that's shocking when you think like that's just the average person across this huge, you know, scope of people that they looked at, right? So you think across the world. So it like we've got the skills here, it breaks down the bigger emotions and then subsets them, like what falls under, like we've got anger, but then like what are the other things that fall under anger? And so looking at that for your own is so powerful. And like I love to have it like when I've been struggling with like, what am I really feeling here? Like I want to use the word overwhelmed, but I don't think it really is overwhelmed. I think it's like, you know, something else. And it's great too to have on hand for clients. I have a therapist right now, and she actually has a round circle. I'm going to write this down. I can pull it up for you guys on Thursday, of all the emotions and how there's the big ones, the main ones, and then how out of those flow, right? Like the sub emotions, for lack of a better term. She has it on a circle. And so like if you're in a session, you can just like pick up the pillow and kind of, if you're not like really figuring out the right word to express yourself. Anyways, I love the circle pillow. Okay, I'm getting off track already. Okay, then we have self-expression. So this is we have that high capacity for self-expression, and then we can model effective communication for our clients, for other people in our lives, just in general, right? I think that's a huge thing in our society, is learning to communicate well with one another. And with our self-expression, we have to have a good self-expression level so we can build that trust and openness in the coaching relationship. And we're going to talk on Thursday about that building that trust and that rapport with our clients. Then we just have interpersonal relationships. So this scale helps us like just to gauge our ability, one, to like develop relationships just in general, but then how do we maintain strong relationships? And so when we have a better understanding of how we develop relationships and how we maintain them, that'll help us be more supportive as coaches, or help us become aware of some areas that we need to work on so that we can be that much more supportive for our clients. Then we have decision making. So we need to use this emotional information to make informed decisions in our coaching sessions. So when we're helping our clients, one, will obviously set their goals and their action plans, but also just, sometimes when they have those awarenesses and you're trying to facilitate that growth with that, the questions of like, what can you do with that feeling? Or how could you take, an emotion to like the next level or explore it more, things like that. So it allows us, when we have a good decision-making capabilities, to hone in areas with clients in the sessions where we can help them explore more and make better decisions for themselves. So here's an example, because I don't feel like I'm explaining this very well with decision making, even though it's so basic, is when you're talking to someone, to a client, or you might even have a friend or a family member, that you're talking to them and you're listening to them, and they're telling you about either a decision that they made, or B, a decision they're about to make. And you can tell that with this decision, they had no idea or did not think about, or they are not thinking about the consequences and the outcome of the decisions that they make, right? And sometimes the decisions that we make, even though they're for ourselves, have rippling effects. And we don't like to own that as a society. We don't like to own that as people. And so helping our clients at times, empathetically, kindly, gently asking questions that might tune them into how this decision is going to affect them later in life, or how it might have a ripple effect into other areas. And then the fifth one is our ability to manage our stress. So this is our ability to just really remain calm and resilient under pressure. And when we're able to do that, right, when we're able to provide that calm energy, that silence, that presence with our clients, then that's giving them stability. And it is creating that safe space for them to come and talk openly about their challenges and what's going on. So there's a lot of different sides. So when you think of these 5 skills, I mean, there's a lot of different sides to them. And it's going to make a lot of sense when we start looking at the sub skills. So what's really cool is that these skills and sub skills all correlate with core competencies. So for me, when I first took this course to be certified in the emotional intelligence part of it, like that fired me up. like I was already excited to delve deeper into emotional intelligence. But when it was like, oh, and we're connecting this and this and this, it was like a happy dance in my head of like fireworks of like when things are all coming together and how useful things are. So I just really like saw that next level of usefulness. So I love that Cheryl has put in here in our chapter, or in this chapter specifically, like what core competency it corresponds with. So developing our active listening, right? So number 6, like Rita, you did so great today. By developing that, we're leveraging a high emotional self-awareness to tune into the little nuances of our clients, the little words that they're saying, picking up on those little energy shifts. And then core competency 8, which is facilitating client growth. Then we are drawing on our strengths of empathy and our interpersonal relationships to foster that safe space for exploration and action, like I was saying a little bit earlier. And then, and this is wrong, mine says core competency 11, and that is wrong because the chapter has been corrected, but because it's not uploaded, I couldn't pull it up. But managing progress and accountability, that also speaks back to facilitating growth and creating awarenesses. So 7 and 8. And so that's using the decision-making and problem-solving skills to help our clients with the awarenesses and making progress. And then core competency 1 is upholding our ethical standards. And so then we're ensuring our client's level of self-regard and independence, that it's balanced with social responsibility and empathy, and that we're not overstepping boundaries, and that we are maintaining that ethical conduct. I love that in our ethics at the bottom, there's like, I've just read it so many times, but it's at the bottom of the screen. It talks about literally in our ethics, like our responsibility to society. And when I first was taking my certification course, and I saw that, again, fireworks, connecting, because here, you know, I had been living in other countries for 15 years and learning the culture and being a part of it, and how can I serve, and how can I help, and how can I be in the community in expected ways, but also like in unexpected ways. And so when I saw like part of our ethics is our responsibility back to society, and the very last thing is that I forget the exact word it says, but we commit, might not be the exact word, but like we commit to basically doing what is right and not asking for forgiveness later, right? That whole principle of do what is right, err on the side of that instead of, what's that saying? The first part of it I can't remember, but just when people say ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah, it's easier to ask permission. It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yes, exactly. And I can't, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, go back to the core competencies, and it's right at the bottom, and it talks about our responsibilities to society. So we have, I'm going to scroll down here. So just the overall looking at the top 5 skills. So looking at their self-perception. So if you have a lower score on self-perception, it might indicate that we need to develop a deeper connection just with our own emotions, and that we need to practice that present of being present. We need to be more present in our own lives and attune to our own lives and also to our clients. So that means like we might struggle to empathize or fully like grasp what's going on for our clients, struggle to maybe really put ourselves in their shoes. Where when we have a higher score here, it means as a coach that we're already really well in tuned with our emotions, and that we have a strong foundation for presenting and having that coaching presence, core competency for when we go into session. So the self-awareness, it allows us to maintain, again, that environment of open exploration and safety for our clients. So a coach with strong self-regard and emotional self-awareness can model emotional literacy for clients and helping them recognize and articulate their own emotions. And then we can detect nuances in emotions, and that can help coaches facilitate a deeper understanding for clients. And then also helping us align with the core competency. Oh, and that aligns with the core competency of facilitating growth, number 8. Then our self-expression and effective communication. So if there's a lower score there, it could just reflect a coach's struggle to express thought and manage emotional expression. So potentially impacting that coach-client relationship because they're not able to manage their own emotions, right? So it's like all over your face, all over your body at all times. You cannot keep some sort of poker face. Higher score is then going to be a coach who has that ability to openly communicate and be assertive in their presence, and that they have a high self-expression, and that they can inspire clients to also be open, and for them to have that space and to help them articulate their thoughts and feelings. So coaches can encourage clients to express themselves more freely. And again, this is vital for creating that atmosphere of trust and openness. And then assertiveness and communication is crucial for establishing and maintaining clear boundaries that line up with our ethical standards and our own personal boundaries that we're going to set around our, our businesses, our families, our clients, those things. Then there's our interpersonal and just the creating of trust. So if there's a lower score, that's going to highlight areas for development in social responsibility and that interpersonal relationships. And those, again, are just so critical for that trust and intimacy. And then a higher score is a coach who's proficient in developing and maintaining strong empathetic relationships, allowing them to support clients more effectively in their personal and professional growth. And I think that's really important too for people going into like career coaching, business coaching. Just like today, Christine, you show up, you want to talk about water intake, right? So we'll put that on like your professional growth. It's a task-oriented growth. But by the end of the session, you're into personal growth and you're talking about your worth and what does that mean for you and how does that affect the other areas of your life. Then we'll go down to decision making and cultivating like the client autonomy. So if you have a lower score, that's going to indicate challenges with using emotional information effectively. And that can hinder a coach's ability to support clients in making informed decisions. And then the higher score is a coach who has the ability to incorporate emotional insights into the decision-making process, and then guiding the client towards the empowered choices in the actions that they're planning and the goals that they're setting. So we can leverage that emotional information in the decision-making when it comes to supporting our clients, especially when like helping them have realistic goals and their steps are actually like actionable and they go in a logical order. And then grounded objectivity helps us as coaches to encourage our clients' autonomy. And then for stress management and also maintaining our effectiveness as a coach, a lower score can imply difficulties in coping with stress. And that can potentially affect a coach's resilience and our ability to maintain coaching effectiveness under pressure. And then a high score would indicate a coach's capacity for stress tolerance and flexibility. especially for managing the emotional tone of coaching sessions and staying resourceful in the face of the challenges that our clients are going to bring. So this speaks to core competency too, as far as us embodying a coaching mindset and allowing the client to lead the session, that we are just following the client. And that optimistic outlook and adaptability to help coaches to inspire hope and resilience in our clients, and to promote that forward-looking perspective on personal growth, right? So those are the quick overview of the top 5 skills. And I'm going to keep sailing here. So then sub skills. So we've got self-regard and coaching confidence. So lower score is going to suggest a need for the coach to bolster their confidence and their sense of self-worth to provide a stable and confident presence for their client. A higher score is going to indicate that there's already a strong foundation of that self-respect and that personal conviction, empowering coaches to lead by example. Okay, so even if you're working on some of your self-worth, you still have personal conviction and you're still able to empower. And you'll see these tiny aspects on the assessment. And that's what I found so insightful. And I'm thinking of you, Christine, with, it says your sense of self-worth if you have a lower score, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a lower score on it, because you do have personal conviction and you do have self-respect, right? So you'll see that's what we're talking about with that balance and leveling out, but then also seeing some areas to work on. So we want to use this as a strong sense of self-regard to encourage our clients in their journey towards self-empowerment and self-belief. And then there's self-actualization and goal-oriented growth. So lower score is going to point to potential areas where a coach could benefit from focusing on personal growth and long-term aspirations. Higher score reflects a coach's ongoing pursuit of personal and professional development. And the application is that we're leveraging a commitment to self-actualization, and that can help coaches support clients in setting and achieving meaningful goals. Then we have emotional self-awareness and a reflective practice going hand in hand. So a lower score is a coach may need to deepen their understanding of their own emotions to enhance empathy and understanding. But then a higher score suggests that a coach has a keen awareness of their emotional experiences, which is so crucial for the insight and for us to be empathetic. And I have met a lot of coaches over the years, and only a handful of them did not have a lot of empathy. So as coaches, this is, I think, something that is naturally, some of these things are just naturally born into us, into our personalities and our gifts and our strengths. And then some of them we can work on. But I have just seen over and over with coaches that the coaches that succeed and are really strong, this is just already born into you when you came out, before you came out of your mother's womb. Then we've got emotional expression and authentic communication. So a lower score would indicate a coach's difficulty with expressing emotions constructively, which is then going to hinder our dialogue with our clients and other people in our life. And the higher score is going to show that we're adept in expressing emotions and facilitating that transparent and honest relationship with our clients. So the application is that as coaches, we can encourage clients to express their emotions freely, fostering a trusting environment. And that goes to core competency 3, as far as establishing and maintaining those coaching agreements. We have assertiveness and empowering dialogue. So a lower score, so a coach may need to develop their ability to communicate their beliefs and feelings assertively. And if it's high, that coach has the capacity to state their perspectives confidently, which is crucial for maintaining those, again, boundaries with our clients. So the application is that we'd have a balanced approach to assertiveness, allowing as coaches to empower our clients to speak up for themselves. And we have independence and coaching autonomy. So a lower score is going to suggest a potential over-reliance on others. So promoting coaches to cultivate more self-reliance in their practice. And then a higher score is going to indicate that a coach operates with a high degree of independence and they are modeling that self-sufficiency for their clients. So application is independence, and coaching supports the fostering of self-determination, which is essential for the client-led change in decision-making. And this goes to core competency 5, where we're cultivating that trust and that safety. And then interpersonal relationships and connection building. So a lower score may imply a need to focus on building deeper, more meaningful connections with clients. And then a higher score shows a coach's strength in forming and nurturing relationships. So that's a key to supportive coaching atmosphere. So the application is that strong interpersonal skills allow us as coaches to create a network of support, and that enhances our coaching alliances. And that goes back to core competency 4 with the coach's mindset, right? So that our coaching mindset isn't just in the session or with that client, but that we have these other relationships that we can bring in to support us and to support our clients. With empathy and a compassionate engagement. So a lower score is going to suggest that a coach may need to develop a greater capacity for understanding and sharing the feeling of others. And then a higher score is going to highlight a coach's natural empathy, which is very vital for us to be effective and passionate in our coaching sessions. So application is that empathetic coaches can use this skill to deeply understand client perspectives and tailor coaching approaches to each individual need. So again, that goes back to core competency 6 and maintaining our presence. And then social responsibility and ethical coaching. So a lower score is going to indicate an area for growth and contributing to the welfare of clients and the community. And a higher score is obviously then going to suggest the coach is committed to social well-being and ethical practices. And then problem solving and effective facilitation. So a lower score may indicate a coach's struggle with integrating emotional insight into their problem solving process. So this could mean that the emotions cloud their judgment, making it a challenge to guide the client through problem-solving techniques. So this also speaks to connecting, right, of the head and the heart and those different parts of us. And with a higher score, then it suggests a coach's proficiency in utilizing emotional information to facilitate client problem solving, allowing for well-informed and balanced decisions. So the application is that as coaches, we can improve their problem-solving capabilities by consciously incorporating emotional awareness into the decision-making process. And that obviously goes to core competency 7 of evoking awarenesses. And then by understanding the role that emotions play in our own decision-making, coaches can better facilitate client self-discovery and strategy development. So I'm going to stop. There's 2 more pages here of the sub-skills that y'all can easily read through and understand. What I want to do is pull up my assessment. Can you see on there, Rita, workplace report? Holly Davis. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like that pillow I was talking about. So emotional intelligence is in the middle, And then the outside of the circle, we've got the 5 big skills. But then you can see under each big skill is the subset skills. So self-expression includes the emotional expression, our assertiveness, and our independence. Or like decision making is problem solving, but it's also our impulse control and reality testing. Okay, so it is looking at all of these things when you take this assessment, and you're going to end up getting an overview of your results that is color coordinated, which I love anything color coordinated. And I'm a visual learner, so I like that each thing has its own color. So you can see like overall, my score is 115, which is good. 130 is like very high, and past that is like super amazing. So I'm working to get mine into the 120s. But you can see how, like with self-perception, really high, 118. And you can see that my self-actualization, like my pursuit of meaning and self-improvement, is slightly lower than how it balances out. Yeah, okay, so self-expression, I'm a 113, and my emotional expression is a 129, right? Like I'm nailing that. And I'm pretty independent as far as my emotions, and I'm self-directed, but my assertiveness is lower, and that's in the 90s. Okay, so I need to work on assertiveness, which is funny, and I want to speak to some of this stuff in a minute. So then, okay, so you can just see, here's another one, my stress management. So it's 111. And where I'm weakest is just coping in stressful situations. And that's very true. I have I literally have general anxiety disorder. I struggle with anxiety. So sometimes I'm decent, but other times I just am not coping. So then it's going to take each subset and break it down like immensely. So what does the score mean? So it means that my self-regard is stronger than most people's, and that I know myself and I'm comfortable with me, which generally translates into good performance. I may have a high level of respect for yourself, your talents, and your weaknesses, and a willingness to confidently admit mistakes or when I'm unfamiliar with a situation. And then it talks about my impact for work, and it talks about strategies, actions. And this is where you'll really talk to Cheryl about, when you and Cheryl will really talk about, is these strategies of where you take action to improve upon yourself. And it at the very bottom here, it talks about how you're balancing out, right? So you see self-regard for me is 116, problem solving is 99. So it goes through each one and it breaks it down, which I find really, I loved it. I want to find independence. So I found it so intriguing for me as a person who lived as a single woman in 3 countries and traveled to over 20 training youth leaders, that my independence was only 104. But then when I look at the breakdown, it makes a little bit more sense of what so what I'm thinking of independence versus what they're thinking, right? So I am comfortable making decisions on my own. Okay, that's what I was thinking of when I thought of independence. And I welcome, or I try to get guidance, some reassurance from others. I do like to get, someone else's opinion. I will consult for advice, but I make the ultimate decision. And I accept responsibility for decisions, knowing that at times people will disagree with me. But it says I need to build, with all of this, just a little bit more autonomy. So having that little bit more autonomy is going to bring up my independence score in the realm of emotional intelligence. And what I find so intriguing and interesting is that to a fault, I had to be so extremely independent as a single woman that my autonomy was like a weakness. Everybody thought I was a super strong woman and I'm confident and I'm independent. And really, parts of me were dying inside, but I didn't ask for help and they weren't seeing it. So I come back to the States. Oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I can like go home for Thanksgiving and bring leftover food home. Christmas, I can like bring treats home. When I got my first apartment in the States, my mom was like, oh, here's an extra lamp. Here's an extra coffee table. And she's putting these things on the trunk of my car and I'm sobbing. And she's like, what? I mean, it's okay if you don't like the lamp. Like you could just spray paint it or just use it till you can afford a lamp. And I'm like, it's not the lamp. It's the fact that I now live where my parents can give me a lamp. So then I kind of went backwards on some things. So that's where I was kind of able to look at all these different numbers and think about all the different aspects of my life, and why some of these numbers are lower than what I might expected them to be, and some of them higher, in a shocking good way. So it takes all of these scores, like you saw on the very first page, all of the beautiful summary of color rainbowness, and what it does on the very last page is it gives you a happiness score. And this is indicating our well-being and how satisfied we are with life and how content we are with life. I love that this is here. And we want to have higher scores, obviously, if not the highest, when it comes to our happiness. And when they're speaking happiness here, notice they're using the word contentment, satisfaction. They're not using a worldly definition of happiness that is like a quick fix, happiness that comes and goes. You know, like when they're talking about happiness, contentment, satisfaction, I would put joy in there. So you just have these, an underlining foundation that you're able to go back to continually be full and whole and well, as a human. And then it breaks down again the top 4 for me and talks about that. And then with Cheryl, you'll look at the actual page here of an action plan, and you're gonna, and it's in your homework for this class, in this chapter 5, is to pinpoint some of your weak areas and then think through how you can improve upon them. And of course, time framing it. How are you going to measure that success? Do you need support and resources? You know, what barriers might get in your way? So I'm excited, Christine, for you to do your assessment on the mountains. And I'm excited for you, Rita, to get yours back. Do you have any questions? I know I flew through that like really fast.
Yeah, no, I think it will be very interesting. As you're going through this, I think it's naturally a way that you start scoring yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the scores close and read through
Yeah.
it and score for myself and
Mm-hmm.
then see what did the test say. Just to
Mm-hmm.
actually compare to what the science says and
Yeah.
what you actually feel.
Yeah. So ultimately, like we want everything to be above 100, if not higher. So when we get like under hundreds is where we want to really work on things. So like my assertiveness. And again, that's another one for me that is interesting because as the woman that I was up until I was 22, the loud, proud, vocal, assertive American, I moved to Europe thank the Lord, and it broke me. Broke me. And I am thankful for the country that I live in and the freedoms that I have, but I am different about a lot of things now. But being in other countries, how it like changed my assertiveness level and how I was taught to just sit back and observe the culture, like what's going on, what's going on in Austria that, historically then is leading them to act this way in this situation, or the way that they parent, things like that. So I learned to just keep my mouth shut, and really worked hard to not be offensive.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what is valuable is also just to look at where you act for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We won't be able to pull ourselves away from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And almost like, I mean, Christine and I, we are both at the moment there where
Mm-hmm.
our tables are so full and we've got this responsibility that we
Yeah.
take very serious,
Mm-hmm.
the EQ and getting certified and the ICF and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the stress management thing, stress levels would be possibly a little bit higher than it's going to be in
Mm-hmm.
2 months' time when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And or you might surprise yourself. You guys can ask Lori about this. So Lori and I went through to get our certification in the emotional intelligence together, and she was in the midst of just huge, heavy, heavy, hard life. She can tell you that journey, and had to sit down and take this assessment, right? And is like, I'm gonna be like horrible, because I'm like, she was like, such horribleness of life. You're not really functioning. You're just getting by. She got one of the highest scores ever. Not ever in the world, but like, she kicked me out of the park. I was like, holy crap, girl. Like, and like back to what I was saying way at the beginning of our class here was, I'm 48 and not married, never lived with someone. I take this test again in a year, I bet a lot of things have changed, right? Because the things that I haven't had to work on, nobody's pushing my buttons or prodding me or forcing me. But when you're married and you have children and, those things, they're going to push and prod and make you stronger in areas. Yeah. So you might just really be surprised at some of your results. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to trust my son here. He
Yeah.
loves playing games. And one day we were driving again, and the four of us were there. And I said to him, okay, let's play a game. You have to say and play a song that
Mhm.
comes up for you when you think in terms of your dad or your sister or your brother. And we
Yeah.
had to go around everybody. And it made such an impression on me when my son started playing the Queen of Hearts for me. He said, Mom, this is you, Queen of Hearts. the, lyrics, yeah, that really made an impression. And I think that was also one of the things that sparked for me again,
Mm-hmm.
take coaching to the next level.
Yeah. That's a cool game.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
That gives you a lot of insight into how you're perceived.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, Thursday is not as heavy at all. So you've got questions, comments, frustrations, anxieties, anything about homework. We'll have the extra time to talk through that, as we're gonna look at chapter 6, and we're gonna talk about building that trust and that rapport with our clients. Okay. So thanks guys for sharing with me today, allowing me to be a part to just jump in and share honestly and some great coaching, really good coaching. So I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Holly. Okay.
Have a good
Have a good
night.
day.
Sweet dreams.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.